Hi guys, welcome back to Bunny. This is 5. I thought I'd go through some pigments and coloured mixes. So this is my little box that my watercolours will be arriving in. If anybody wants to buy any when I get them out. But I thought I'd just talk a bit about colour mixing. Because there's quite a few videos out there that are not that easy to follow. So I thought I'd do a really simple way. And a few months ago, I bought this little Reeves set. Now I've gone off plastic, but this is like a melamine plastic. It's a vintage plastic. And I liked it because it's got a very simple mechanism. It's quite thin, and it has the colours on there. And I really like this set, and I thought this should be good. Oh, hi Della, welcome back. Welcome back to Bunny's Designs. Hi Kenny. So it didn't cost me very much, that set, and then I found for a few pounds this one, and it doesn't have anything in it. So I thought actually I could put some watercolors in here. Now I've got some gouache. I can't remember. I think gouache does go from dry, and I've got so much that I thought I might use that. But then I found my this is another tin that I bought, and I have some Dale Rowney artists, and the tops, because I had to squish them in, I bust the tops on a lot of them. So actually I could. The only thing is there isn't a cerulean blue in a professional colour, but there is a cobalt blue. And I'm a bit, that's the one I could use instead, is my cerulean blue Winsor Newton. So I think I'm going to have a play with the watercolours, mix the colours and put them in here. But what I want to do is take 6 colours and show how we mix 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 colours. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to get white in there. I don't think I've got there's an ivory black, but I don't think there's a Payne's grey. So we have cerulean blue. There's a foam yellow, but I'm going to be using a yellow. There's a light red, which I would class as a cadmium red. Now, somewhere there should be alizarin crimson. Now, I'm a bit cross because they're not actually in my favourite colour order. Vermilion here. Let me have a look at the other one. See, the other one is slightly better because it's dirtier. So we've got an emerald green and viridian, Van Dyke brown, and a black. The yellow ochre I like, vermilion I like. There's a cobalt blue, a mauve, a hooker's green. So we've got 3 greens. So that would be quite interesting. Gamboge. So the chrome yellow to me looks like a cadmium yellow. So I think, let it pop out. No, there's a crimson lake tint. So I think I'd make similar colours, but I'm going to put them in this one here. But I want to mix them with only 6 colours. So a few weeks ago, I bought. Just let me tweet them back on because I decided not to go with hubby. It's too much. I just didn't fancy going out, so we'll just do that, hopefully. Just a quick slurp of coffee. Cold tea, hate cold tea. Sorry guys, I always forget to do this. Right. And I'll just... So I thought it would be interesting to do this with actual watercolors. I've never done that with actual watercolors. So I thought I'd do that. Just put that on silent. Right. So there's lots of different ways you could do it. I usually get a mat. There's 6 wells in this. So this would be perfect for putting 6 primary colours, the split primary colours that I like. So I bought some pigments a couple of weeks ago. So I've got Venetian red and Mars orange. Now I don't have a mask, so I'm not going to open them. Windsor green, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, oxide of chromium, permanent mauve and burnt umber, Windsor blue, and lamp black. And also I have cobalt blue, French ultramarine, Elysian crimson, cadmium red, aureline, which is almost yellow, and a lemon yellow hue. So I probably will replace this one with cerulean blue, because it's not quite as pale as I'd like it to be, and my favorite is cerulean blue. So my set would differ slightly from these, purely because it gives you the maximum. I just put these back and I don't make so much of a rattle. No, they did all fit in here. Pop those on the floor. So they are pure pigments, and so when they've been mixed with a binder and a chalk, or not kind of a chalk, people use different things, but if I say chalk, it's a powdered white powder. It makes them opaque, and when you make a watercolor opaque and really, really opaque, it becomes a gouache. Basically, that's what a gouache is. It's a color. Like primary yellow is normally transparent, but this isn't, because it's a gouache. So I also managed to buy these little vintage, they were in one of the sets. This is really old, this one. I'm going to be a bit careful with that one. And I need 6, and I've got 5. Why haven't I got 6? I thought I had 6 of those. I think I was going to mix them in here, but I'm going to mix them in here. What I will do is I'm going to paint this one from 3 colors. I think that's, so if I, sorry, from 6 colors. So you'll probably see what gouache does. Again, we won't have a watercolor effect because it's a gouache. It'll be a flat color. And I may not do that one, because this one I did want some watercolor effects. So I'll have a bit of a think about that. The one to do flat may be the Gorilla with the buildings, that probably would be a good gouache one. So I may do that one in a little while. But I thought I'd just have a bit of a play with colour. So we've got 6 colours. We've got 2 reds, 2 yellows, and 2 blues. And then normally what will happen, so if I replace these, I've got to be a bit careful with that red, so I'm going to use a different red because I don't want to waste it, so I've popped it into there. I think I can make those colours go into that, so we'll try with that, and we'll test the cerulean blue. So we've got a cadmium red and a carmine, which is very similar to alizarin crimson. The cobalt blue, but I am tempted to use that blue, but I'd like to keep them the same, so I will use this one. French ultramarine, and that's a permanent. Do I not have French ultramarine and a cobalt blue? That's a gamboge, so I can test that colour. A lemon yellow and a cadmium yellow. And then in theory, we would then have a purple there, an orange there, and a green at the bottom. And I can't find, I am really tempted to use this one purely because it's a lot lighter than this one. I can't find my cotton set at the minute. Don't know what I've done with it. But it means I can use this. I can't tell if you put gouache in there or not. I haven't got any baby wipes. I think these are going to be clean enough, really. So if I put some, I've got a lemon yellow and I've got a chrome yellow. So I'm going to put the 2 yellows in here. And all they'll do is, because the problem I have is I can't get these tops off. And I'm always in trouble. You see what I've done with them is I've squeezed them so much. So I don't want to put too much in. I want just enough so I can squeeze that back onto itself. Now I will be using that again in a minute. So I'm going to leave that like that. The next one is now the reason that I like this is because I've squeezed the bottoms so that I could get them in this little tin, which seemed a good idea at the time, but you'll see what happens when I take this off. It's going to pop. So I've now got my lemon yellow and my cadmium yellow. It says light red and I've got cerulean blue there. Now I have got to do 2 things. I go in the order that I normally work in, or I recreate these colours here. I do like the fact we've got hooker's green. The white, I don't know, I might make the white into a Payne's grey. I don't buy Payne's grey, but I like it. So I could possibly make a Payne's grey and a very dark, so you can see the difference. So I can make an almost black. And if I make a lamp black, it's a bit warmer. There's yellow ochre there. Gamboge we can make quite easily. The Crimson Lake is here, and vermilion. Now vermilion is not quite an orange. I don't think we have an orange in here. We have a light red. Now light red is normally a cadmium red, and a Crimson Lake tint is an alizarin crimson. Oh well, I've got carmine here, so we'll put carmine in. And again, I broke the top of this one, so this could get quite messy. So Crimson Lake is going to be carmine. and get rid of that. I'm going to have to go get some baby wipes, I think. And the cadmium red, I think I'm going to put in with light red. And again, because I've squeezed them, the colour's going to come out anyway. So I've got some light red there. Now this is actually really nice paint. This Daler Rowney Professional Watercolour is really, really nice. Now I have to decide if I'm going to mix the permanent blue. Now a permanent blue is not quite. See, you've got to decide, do you keep them all the same or do you mix your watercolours together? I may have a bit of a problem with that purely because I am actually going to physically mix these colours together for other colours. I'm going to mix colours by using these 6 tins of paint. Hope that makes sense. Oh, hi Marilyn, welcome to Bunny's Designs. And again, what you've got to think about is the pigment in this one is going to be different from the pigment in this one. Sorry, beg your pardon. The pigment's the same, it's the binder. And these are a bit stickier. So I think they might put honey in this one. I don't know how they make it stickier, but it's a lot stickier. This red is still tacky and it's weeks ago. So if I mix them together, they might not like it. Which spoils that because I don't have a purple. But what they do give you is this one. But there again, I can show you the experiment. Right, so we haven't got a cerulean blue. It's a Prussian blue, and there is a cobalt blue tint. And they have a mauve, you see. They have a mauve, but I need to make a mauve. And this permanent blue, see, they do have a Prussian blue there. I think I'm going to put this permanent blue in the Chinese white because I'm not going to use a Chinese white because otherwise I'm going to struggle. I need a purple blue. If I don't get a purple blue, I'm not going to get a bright purple. I'm going to get a mauve, a blue purple. So I want more of a lake, purple lake, or a dioxazine purple, which is and you can't do that without French ultramarine because this is a pinky blue. So this is a purple blue, but it's not as purpley as that. So on the color wheel, we've got cobalt blue, and we've got this blue, and we've got French ultramarine, and we've got cerulean blue. So this is the coolest blue for best for greens, but this one wants to be with the carmine for purple. And I'm not using that one, I'm using this one. So that means my purple is not going to be as bright. But I'm going to put the cobalt in the cobalt and we'll just have to play it by ear. So that is instead of my cerulean blue. And as I say, this is why my mix works best because I have the best blue. So this is a permanent blue. I don't know what permanent blue is going to do it because this is the purple blue. And there isn't a purple blue there. So I may have to cheat because I do want, seeing as my cobalt blue went in there instead of in there, I'm classing my cobalt blue, my cerulean blue. I'm going to have to put this permanent blue. This is why I really need to get these paints out. This is, oh, you see what I mean about, this is my purple blue. And if that's better. And leave the tops off because I desperately need to sort these paints out. Again, they came in a set. Has anybody got any questions? Hi, Melody, welcome back. I decided not to go. So we've got our 2 yellows. We've got a lemon yellow, a cadmium yellow. We've got a cadmium red. We've got a carmine instead of Elysian crimson. And again, you'll see why I like Elysian crimson, not carmine. We've got the cobalt blue, which I've put into the cerulean blue. And we've got permanent blue, which is a purple blue, but it's not French ultramarine. It's not an ultramarine. So I will just have to see if I can find some baby wipes somewhere. I hope he disappeared before I could ask him. They're going to get all messed up. So we want a gamboge. Now, we need an orange first. Now, we haven't got orange in this set. We've got a vermilion. So I'm going to make an orange. So vermilion will be kind of a reddy orange, but it's going to be more of a bit of an orange. So I need the cadmium red there. And I need my cadmium yellow. And it's about 50-50. And I did have a beautiful little mixer stirrer thing, but it seems to have gone. So I'm going to use this. And you don't have to worry about it because it's all going to dry and then it'll all be constituted into a beautiful, oh, I like that. That's actually an orange. Now, if I put a little bit more into it, I could make it a vermilion. But if I mix that orange with that cadmium red, I will get vermilion 50-50. So I know that, so I don't need that, but I would like an orange. So I've changed it very slightly. I suppose the other way to do it is if I wanted an orange. So I've now got an orange. Now what I need to do now is put gamboge is slightly orangier than that one, but I'm actually thinking about using, no, it's a cadmium yellow. So gamboge tint is a cadmium yellow, and I've got some orange on there, so I'm not going to put any more in. Just going to see what that does. And that small amount of orange has made gamboge. So I now have a gamboge. Mix that completely. And see, it doesn't matter that we've got some on the edge because we can use our brush. This will dry into a pan. Now, a lot of people don't say you should do this. The solution to make a pan, the binder, is slightly different, but I've been doing it and it's fine because you can probably get 4 pans out of 1 tube. So, hey ho. Is everybody okay? So I've now got, in fact, I would say that actually is nearly vermilion. It actually is probably a dark orange. So that's a very near vermilion. That's our, I'm going to call it a fake Elysian crimson because it's not as pink as Elysian crimson or quinacridone magenta, but it'll do because I'm using this particular set. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm mixing these as a watercolor, and the binder will be the same because it's Dale Rowney's binder for their watercolors. So I didn't want to put my cerulean blue and my French ultramarine, but I will show you the difference of actually using the colors I prefer to these. But these are in the set I've got. So we now need a Prussian blue. Now there is a Prussian blue. So wait a minute, let's make a green first. So let's make a hooker's green. Emerald green is lemon yellow. Now, you can make cadmium yellow out of lemon yellow, but you can't make lemon yellow out of cadmium yellow because lemon yellow is a pure yellow. Cadmium yellow or a warmer yellow, you can add a touch of gamboge and you'll be half and half. So this is kind of the lemon yellow you get. Then there's this one, then there's that one, then there's tangerine, then there's orange, then there's vermilion, then there's cadmium red, and then you've got scarlet lakes and things, and then you've got a crimson, then you've got Elysian crimson, then you've got quinacridone magenta, and then you go on to your purples. So you can make them all. The same with the cadmium red. You can make an orange red from a carmine or a pinky red by adding a touch of orange. You cannot make a carmine out of a cadmium red because basically this is the pinkiest pink. And you cannot take any colour out of cadmium. You can't take the yellow out of cadmium to get a carmine. So you want a pink. You need a pinky red, and then you can make a cadmium red. All you do is you do the crimson lake and you add a little bit of orange and you will get a cadmium red. But I decided that because of the purples, it's easier to do it from 6 colours than 3. Otherwise, you would just have a purple blue, a pinky red, and a cold yellow lemon yellow. Does that make sense? The gamboge is a warmer yellow. So again, you can make gamboge from a cadmium yellow by adding a touch of orange. If you add a touch of pink, to the cadmium yellow, that's what we did here, you will get an orange. You've passed gamboge. So what you need to do is to make an orange, and then as you saw, the tiniest bit on the end of the mixer made gamboge. If you make gamboge and then again you've got that amount on there onto lemon yellow, you will then make a cadmium yellow. But you can make all these yellows from this one, but you can't make this one from any other. Basically, the coolest yellow, lemon yellow, I can't think what else they call it. Yeah, just can't think what they call it. It's a printer. It's the yellow. It's the brightest yellow, the coldest yellow in a printer ink, like this one. But you can't take anything out of here to make the other colors, but you can put something in to make the other colors. So if you had a lemon yellow and you didn't have a cadmium, you can make an orange, then you can make a gamboge, and then you can put a touch of gamboge into the lemon yellow and you'll make a cadmium yellow. Oh, morning, Christine. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Oh, sorry, Christine, beg your pardon. I can't read. Hi, Marilyn, Kenny, anybody else popping in? So I've made the gamboge, but if I'd have put, as I did earlier, if I'd have put the red into the yellow, I would have got orange. I'd have passed the gamboge. So I have to make the orange first. The same as when I want to make a cadmium red, I have to make an orange first with Elysian crimson or the carmine and the yellow. I make an orange and then I put a touch more red to it, the pinky red, and take it back to cadmium red. And then the same with the yellow. I have yellow and a touch of the orange to make a gamboge. And then the gamboge with a touch of the cold yellow will make the next yellow, which is cadmium yellow. So you've got to kind of work backwards a bit because you can't, it's so intense is the red that you one touch of it and you're going to get orange. So you have to work backwards back to your yellows. I wanted to put them in colour order, but then I wanted to put them, they're actually named on here. So I wanted to, so it makes it a bit more difficult. But normally if you watch the other colour videos I've done, they're actually all in a row, all the way around from the yellowest yellow all the way through the yellows to the oranges, to the reds, to the pinky reds, the purples, the purple blues, the cold blues, the greens, the blue greens, the greens, and the yellow greens, then back to yellow. And that's how you can do it. Oh, thank you. So now Prussian blue is a dark blue. Now, if you take these two blues and put them together, if you take a French ultramarine, which is a real purpley blue, and you add cerulean blue, you will get cobalt blue. You can't take any pink out of this blue, but you can add pink to make all the other blues. So that's why you want cerulean blue. It's the bluest blue. It's basically a pure blue without any color added to it. And then you can start adding some pinks to it and you get the purple blues and the other blues. So I want a Prussian blue. Now, I've never made Prussian blue before. So I'm guessing, I was going to do, emerald green. So I've decided emerald green is a bright green. So I'm going to use the two that should be next to each other in the color wheel between green. So green would be here. And then we've got this blue and this yellow. So I'm going to put a touch. I've got to clean this now. And of course, this is really sticky color because, again, these colors are very well pigmented. And I actually really like the Daler Round. I've never used them, and I really like them. And again, by accident, these were in a set of paints that I bought cheap, and these were included in my purchase. So I haven't got cerulean blue, but I've got the coolest blue I have is cobalt blue, and I put this one here. So if I just dip literally the tiniest little bit and mix it into this. Now, I would have said that was Chinese green. Yeah, I would say when we've got that Chinese green, it's not yellow anymore. It's definitely not yellow anymore. But it's what I would call that Chinese green, which is the lemoniest green or the palest green we can get. So I've now made a beautiful, beautiful, very, very, very pale green. But it's not emerald green. But if I wanted a highlight on a leaf, that would be the lightest green. Now, what I'm going to do, again, I've got to forget that that's cerulean blue because it's cobalt. I've only got cobalt. This is my palest blue. So normally it would be cobalt. So again, another tiniest, and I've got to be a bit careful that I don't contaminate that blue, because I don't really want to contaminate that blue if I can help it. Again, this is a bit of a messy process, so I'm probably going to touch there. I really do not want very much. And we'll start again. Now, I know I need a lot more than this, but I'm just showing you the different greens from one yellow. And you probably never buy a green again because you don't need to buy a green. Now, probably emerald green, I think you want the other blue, but I'm just going to show you these blues. Now, there's quite a bit more in there, but we'll put that in. Now, here we've got like a pea green. That's a sap green. So by using the two coolest, we've got sap green. But we want emerald green, and I think emerald green has got I mix these two colours together, I'm pretty sure it's not an emerald green. Oh, it's not too bad. But if I put a touch of this blue into it, oh, that's Hooker's green. Hooker's green is made with the purple blue. It's nearly emerald green as that, so I'm going to put a little bit of this, bit more of that blue into it. We'll stick with the cobalt blue. I mean, you can get hundreds of greens in between just by adding a touch of yellow or a touch of so it's getting deeper and deeper. I'll pick up some more of this blue. And I think we call that emerald. Maybe emerald is slightly darker. Just get hold of that and put it there. An emerald green. I think I'm going to put a little bit of this. No, I might lose it, but we'll. So the other thing is, if you go too much, you'll have to put some more yellow back in. But the pigments are very, very strong. I think that one is more of an emerald green. So we've gone past sap green. Now I do like sap green, and there isn't a sap green. I would leave my sap green in there rather than emerald. But normally emerald's got just that little bit more blue to it. Hi Sandra, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else pop in? So we want a viridian tint. So viridian, the lemon yellow. So that means we actually need that yellow. So we'll put that yellow in first. I think I'm going to put a bit of Prussian blue in this time. And that's quite a big dollop, that one. Oops, I don't want to touch that on a yellow. So it's a different blue. It's got more purple in it. So if you can see that one, now that's what I would call sap green. So this one's sap green more than the other one. That one's emerald green. I actually quite like that one, but I think I need some more. Because I don't want, you can always go more, but you can't go take it out. So I've left quite a bit on there, and we'll take that down a bit more. And you'll see all the different greens appearing, especially if you've got a lot of near colour twos. You'll see all the colours appearing. Now, I much prefer French ultramarine for mixing. I think we're still in a pearly pale sap greeny colour. We need to be a bit. Get all that blue out in there. Now I don't want to add this yellow because we'll get anything with red in it. If it's in there, it's going to be again. I see a sap green there. I do see a sap green. So Viridian has got a little bit. It can't add red because if we add red to it, it'll change. So we've just got to keep going as we are. Perhaps that is a bit too much. I mean, I've never made Viridian before, I don't think. I think I made it by accident a couple of weeks ago. Again, what I should do is look back on my notes. I made it by accident. But I'm not sure what this blue does because I'm not used to this blue. I'm not used to this blue. I'm used to French ultramarine. So I think I might just have to do a little bit of mixing because I'm just not used to this. And if I do need this, I'm going to have to change it. Ah, there it is, look. There we have Viridian. So we've got Viridian. So that is just the purple blue. So I probably would have got there quicker with French ultramarine because it's more purplier. So there we go. So more purple blue. I have to say it's probably more like a hooker's green now. That I think is a hooker's green, but never mind. It's definitely a purple blue. Now, obviously, if you're doing this on a palette, you just pick your colours. It wouldn't take you as long. It's not quite as dark as I want it. So the other thing I'm going to do now is I want, that is mainly hooker's green, but I did think put some more blue in it. Sometimes you just got to be a bit brave. I can always change these. I'll just do a tester, and if it's not the same. And now again, you see, I would say that's a hooker's green. Is that? That's a hooker's green. So if I put that yellow in and a bit of that one. I use a different yellow. Now you see that's too olivey because of the yellow. I use the different yellow. Now that is a sap green, that one. That is definitely sap green. I think I'm going to leave that because it's a colour that I'm going to use. So I want, oops, you see that's the yellow that makes the sap green, you see, that's what it is. And if you use a warm yellow, an olive, but I can make these into olive colours by just having a touch of either gamboge or orange, and they will give me that. But I'll do that in a second. I'll show you the olives. I'll do this blue here. So this is the cool blue and the cool yellow. And this is Viridian. So that's definitely Viridian. So we've made Viridian with a different blue. So you see how different they are just with the two different blues and the two different yellows. So I've got Viridian, I've got a hooker's green, I've got a sap green, and I've got an emerald. Now I need a Prussian blue. So Prussian blue will be, I think it's cold is Prussian blue. So let's see if we can make Prussian blue. So we've got a blue here. It's got yellow in it. Oops, that's no good. So we want a blue. So that's the permanent blue. I think that is 2. I need an orange, so I need some orange to mix with that. So I've got that colour and that colour. So you see I've got brown. So I've made my burnt sienna. So that's burnt sienna. Oops. So we need cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and again just a touch of, and this one's Van Dyke brown is that one because it's cooler. So let me just get rid of that. Sometimes you don't always get the colour you want at the time. So it's not very orangey, isn't that? And the reason I was doing that is that the Prussian blue is blue. So that was the Prussian blue. With orange. If we take it, now that with a bit more of the cadmium red is Indian red. It's that brick colour because it's the different blue that I used. It's a cooler blue. So if we add the cooler blue to the mix, it makes a cooler brown. Oops. I'm confused with my blues now because of that. That's a Venetian red, is that? But that is a very, it's oops, still quite warm. It's still quite warm, isn't it? That's a Van Dyke brown, is that? And put a bit more blue to it. Again, I'm not using water really. I suppose I should be this, just to get it to move. So that's a Van Dyke. So if I just put a little bit of the warmer blue to this. Now you've got to be careful with a pinky red and a pinky blue because you'll get a purple. We don't want a purple. But burnt sienna is a warm, reddy brown. Now that's almost Venetian red. So more of that colour. It's going to turn it into the warm browns. That's a sienna, and a burnt sienna is a bit deeper. So it's almost still an Indian red. That it's more of a red. But if I add a purpley blue, it will go purple. It won't go brown. So that's quite nice for brick reds and things. I'm just going to add a little bit of this blue. Again, you'll probably see so many browns coming out of here now. You recognise Venetian reds. But to keep it cold, we need the cool blue. It's almost a chestnut colour, and your browns can keep going and going. It's just the ratio to red to brown, red to blue, but staying clear of pink reds and purple blues. I wouldn't be adding French ultramarine, but the cobalt blue, as I say, is not quite as purple. So chestnut or a nut. It's not quite a nut brown. Nut brown's a lot darker than that. So we're probably getting to a raw sienna. A raw sienna is a red brown, where an Indian red is a brown red. It's not always as easy doing this because you've got to go steady because you don't want to overdo it. Although it doesn't really matter to me because a brown's a brown. I can do all sorts with it. But I hope you can see all these browns appearing. So it's still a warm brown, but it's getting darker. So we're getting nearer and nearer to burnt sienna. I think that's almost burnt sienna. Or maybe still at raw sienna stage. So I made the nut brown up here. So Van Dyke brown is quite dark. So we need to make the orange, which is cadmium red. And sorry, cadmium yellow and cadmium red. And I've got brown on here, so I'm not bothered because it's going to be brown anyway. And then I'm going to put, I would normally put cerulean blue, but I'm putting cobalt blue in that one. And you see that really dark, cold brown. That's Van Dyke brown. Or not quite burnt sienna, not quite nut. It's not a nut brown. Van Dyke brown is very, very dark. It's got a lot of blue in it. It's not like Van Dyke brown. It's a very, very... So we've got a warm brown and we've got a cool brown. So that's, again, the two browns I like. With a burnt umber. It's probably more of a burnt umber than a nut brown, is that? So again, we can add a bit more. If we wanted a sienna, we'd put the warmer blue in it. Now this is the dark nut brown, Van Dyke brown, very, very dark brown. And that's an orange first, and then adding a cooler blue. It's quite a dark one, is that one? Oh, thank you, Della. So I still haven't got my mauve. Now, mauve is going to be a real pig because I do not have a purple blue. I have a purpley blue, but not the bluest, the purplest one, which is French ultramarine. So if I put Prussian permanent blue into mauve, I'm going to need a lot of carmine. And I haven't got the pinkiest of pink, actually. It's almost a brown, is that? Because the blue hasn't got any red in it. So we have to put the red in. And you see it's a dull purple. It's not a mauve. In fact, it's still a red, is that? That's carmine. That's burnt carmine, that. And the reason is I don't have an ultramarine. I only have a blue that's slightly purple. So my purples will never be bright because I have the wrong blue. So the nearest thing I've got is burnt carmine. And then the Prussian blue will be, I think it's quite cool, is Prussian blue. It's quite cool, is Prussian blue. So I need the other blue. So if I mix these together, oops, well, it would have been a Prussian blue if I hadn't put too much red to it. So it's the cold blue, cerulean blue, or we've got cobalt. Again, it would be better with cerulean blue. And then we want an orange. So I'm actually going to put a touch of that into it. Because to darken a blue, you want it's complementary. So I'm going to pick a bit of the orange off and mix it in. And I've kept them all kind of thick. There's no water in them purely because just a touch of red in it, but I don't want to get a brown, you see. And it has to be orange really, because if you do put red in it, you're going to get a purple or a brown. Orange is its complementary colour, so it's definitely darker than that one. It's not quite dark enough, so I just need a touch of this. And again, remember that yellow and blue make green, so you've got to put the red in there to make it an orange otherwise. So I think that's a Prussian blue. It's quite a dark blue, is that? And it's fine as a base colour. So the next one is yellow ochre, and again I made yellow ochre by mistake. Yellow ochre was I made it by mistake last week and I couldn't remember. I think I took a sienna, very, very pale. So we'll squeeze this out and see what happens. I think I've got all sorts of colours on there, but the colour I want, so we'll just... I thought it was a cooler one, actually. I didn't think it was yellow ochre. I mean a cadmium yellow. It's too orange. It's a cool yellow I want, so it's lemon yellow. This may not work. It's cool yellow that I need. So I'll just squeeze all that out of there. So if I use an orange, oh, it's drying already. A touch of orange in there. That's made a bit more of a cadmium. It's the wrong colour. A touch of nut brown, I think, just a touch. Can't have it warm because it'll go orange. We want it cool. It's the nut brown we want, the dark brown. Van Dyke brown might be a bit too much actually, but because yellow ochre is cool, it's not warm. There we go. That's yellow ochre. So we've got quite a nice yellow ochre now. It would have turned quicker if I hadn't put the cadmium in it. I do want a touch of the darker brown. Oh, there's too much blue in that. It's gone green now. It's gone green, so I need some. Just a touch of red. It's still a green colour, really. Oh, I've touched that. There's too much blue in it, so it's almost there. Just a tiny bit more. So that's a lovely yellow ochre colour now. So we've got yellow ochre. And again, it's just deciding which brown to use. Okay. Again, I struggled quite a lot because I didn't have the coolest blue and I didn't have the coolest, the purpliest red and the purpliest thing. Now I want black. So the easiest way to black is to make the 3 primary colors. So I want yellow, and cadmium red, and French ultramarine. So I've got brown there, more blue, now that's definitely a dark nut brown. It's a beautiful dark that. And that's why nut brown and French ultramarine make Payne's grey. Now I think that might still be, oh, it might be a black. It could be almost a nut black. Let's have a look. Oh, thank you, Kenny. I thought it'd be quite boring, but it's show that you don't need hundreds of colors. Now they do advise against this for the simple reason is when you take a pure color and mix it, you're destroying its purity, if that makes any sense. But for color books and for color work, I think it's fine. So let's just test this color here. I think it's probably it's a very dark, it's a black brown, it's not quite black. So another squidge of this. And what we're doing is we're neutralizing the red. Ooh, paintbrush. Paintbrush alert. Right. So say purists will say, oh, you can't do this to this color. Yeah, we've made a black. Yes, we've made a black. Now it could be a blue black. That's a brown black. That's a blue black. Mix these two together. And that's a black. So, and again, you can always make these beautiful dark shadows by mixing blue with orange to go darker. You get some really nice bluey shadows, blue into orange. There's all kinds of combinations of complementary colors to get really dull grays, and a really dark gray is a black. So I love mixing blacks. I made, it's the only time I got the distinction in my degree was by making blacks. So if I take that off there, so oops, got a bit of yellow everywhere now, and just jiggle that around a bit. Jiggle that around a bit. And then we'll have a bit of a, I have to go wash my hands, I think. So I've used the colours, but I would have used them anyway. So I'm just going to bob those on there a minute. So we've got a gamboge, we've got yellow ochre, got a Prussian blue, we've got an umber, an Indian red. Again, the French ultramarine is a disaster because you cannot make a purple without French ultramarine. So I'll use, oh mind you, I've got these here, so we can have a quick look to see what they look like. My Prussian blue isn't as dark. That's a bit of paper now. My chrome is that one. I've got a vermilion red, so that's looks quite similar. Oh, that's my little piece of paper. Ah, it's in there. And remember, a lot of different companies have slightly different colours. You know, a French ultramarine or an ultramarine from one company is going to be different from another company. So clear water, and I'll just touch my gamboge. My gamboge is slightly warmer, but I thought gamboge was slightly warmer. So I'll take out their gamboge. Oh wow, that's not bad. That's not bad. Again, it's just a touch off yellow ochre. Now I'm not sure about my yellow ochre because my yellow ochre looks completely different, but let's have a look. So we've got, mind you, these are quite old as well, so you have to kind of just forgive them a little bit. So there's yellow ochre. And here's yellow ochre. So they're very similar. I mean, they're never going to be exact because this is why you can never make the same colour twice. It's very difficult to get the exact colour twice. So that's why they say always make more. So this isn't a Van Dyke brown. It's a burnt umber, but it's a dark nutty brown, or a nut brown, burnt umber, Van Dyke brown. It's very dark, cold brown, and that's mine. So mine is quite dark. But if we make it Van Dyke brown, actually, oh mind you, that's a raw umber. So raw umber is a bit mine probably is nearer Van Dyke because it's a cooler one. Whereas an umber, it's quite cool, but it's not quite as cool. Now the one I don't think I've got right is this one, the Prussian blue. It's not dark enough, I don't think. So we'll just go in there a bit. Oops. I don't really want to squeeze. This is a very dark blue. You see, I wouldn't call that Prussian blue, really. Prussian blue is a darker blue, but anyway, we'll go in mine. Oh, it's not. It's probably slightly warmer, but it's not too far off. Water it down. It's not far off. It's a bit too green, that one, for me to be a Prussian green. Oh, I was going to use this Prussian green, wasn't I? Prussian blue, rather. So this is the one that was. Oh, it does have a bit of a green tint to it. I didn't realise. I thought Prussian blue was a bluey. Mine's, again, it's slightly purplier. So I'd have to put some cerulean blue in that to cool it down. And the Indian red, I've got burnt sienna. We'll try burnt sienna there. That's my burnt sienna. And burnt sienna is that one. Mine's more like the Indian red one. I think mine's probably more like the light red. See if I can water mine down a bit. And it's watered down. It's not far out. Again, you're never going to get it absolutely exact. I probably would do a better job if it wasn't for the fact I didn't have the right blue. But so their emerald green is completely different from mine. No, that's not doing very well, is it? And I put that for my emerald green. Yeah, mine's a bit too light. But it needs the different blue that I don't have. So this is Viridian. And I think my Viridian's out as well. It's more like a hooker's green, is that really? I think that's my Viridian. I think this one is more like my Viridian. Don't know, water it down a bit. It's the wrong blue. It needs more cerulean blue in it, really, mine, than it possibly would be. But again, the French ultramarine makes a big difference. That purple blue makes a big difference when you are making greens. A big difference, because you've got the red in the blue and you've got the red in the yellow, and you've got red in both the yellow and you get stronger greens. But I can live with that. I like the greens. This is hooker's green. Let's see what hooker's green does. That's hooker's green. Oh, it's not very good. Again, these are really vintagey old, so that's a hooker's green. I think I said this was my hooker's green, didn't I? So again, I've got an array of greens that I like. So again, I really don't like thingy green, emeralds. I like sap green and I like hooker's green. The mauve is a complete disaster. It's a burnt carmine. Again, that's because I didn't have a purple blue. If you take French ultramarine, and again, it's not the best. It's not the best purple. You can't do it because you don't have the pinkiest red. If you don't have the pinkiest red, you cannot make a purple. It's impossible. That's a carmine. So to make a carmine, you want a small amount of French ultramarine, and you want alizarin crimson or a crimson. If you want a darker one, you use excuse me, like a cobalt blue, and that turns the carmine into a really dark color. So that was burnt carmine, and that's carmine, so it's brighter, and the only difference was French ultramarine. But you've got to have French ultramarine, or you see they've got a mauve here. I don't think I could make that. Not without French ultramarine. And carmine isn't pink enough. See, look at that aubergine colour. It's a dull purple because I don't have the brightest red. Sorry guys, coughing now. But I'm actually quite happy. Excuse me. I've got a warm brown, a cold brown. I've got a very dark. Oh, let's test the black. See how black the black was. Oh, sorry guys. I just start to cough. Can't stop. So this is my black. And excuse me, and that's black. Now their black is a bit warmer, but I put extra blue in mine. So I've got a cooler black. If I put slightly more red in there, it would be a warmer black. Has anybody got any questions? Let's see if we can make money out of places to mix colours now. So quite happy with that. I got some nice colours. It'll dry into a pan, and I can still make my own colours. I am going to struggle with purple though. Really going to struggle with purple because I haven't got the pinkiest pink. And I think the same. That's why I'm bringing out my 6 colours, and the 6 colours will give you the brightest purple. And sorry guys, I'm just starting to sneeze and cough now. Give me a second. And they're very sticky, these. So again, that reminds me that they may put honey in them or some kind of sugar syrup. It might not necessarily be honey, but it might be some kind of syrup. Oh, excuse me. Have you got any questions? Oh, hi, Rory. Welcome to Bunny's Design. Sorry, that was a bit croaky. I'm getting a bit croaky in my old age. I do like the gamboge. I think I'm going to be tempted, because there's 2 kind of little wells here, to put French ultramarine and Elysian crimson. Because that would mean, in fact, I could put some French ultramarine. I haven't got very much of this professional. I've got 6 colours in this size, and I've hidden them somewhere. I don't know what I've done with them. And I do keep those in a tin. So, see, that one is definitely cerulean blue. So I've got ultramarine, cerulean blue. Then you've got flame red or primary red and spectrum red. Well, that looks pinky to me. And spectrum red. Then we've got primary yellow and a permanent yellow deep. But these 2 are the important ones, because that does look pink. It does look Elysian crimson. but not all primary reds look like that. And then I've got a spectrum red. Take the lid off. Yeah, that's like a cadmium red, although I think that is a bit pinky actually. So this one is called flame red, and I would say this is a red. Yeah, that's an orange red, so I would say I would use those colors. And now if we did the same experiment, we would get better colors because we've got that bright 2 colors to make a brighter purple. If anybody's got any questions, pop them in caps, and I know you're talking to me. So I'll just put those lids on there, then I'll sort those out later because I'm going to have to do a bit of a clean up. I got a bit stuck up with colour. But I was very impressed with the Dale Rowney colours. They did seem rather good. It's just not my favourite colours, and they've dried, and the other one hasn't, the red one hasn't dried, but the others have. So it wasn't such a bad amount of colour scheme. It's just not my favourite. And when I say favourite, I mean the one to get the maximum amount. So again, any good set, you can always tell a good set of watercolours because there's Elysian crimson, cadmium red, cerulean blue, French ultramarine, cadmium yellow, and a lemon yellow. And they're with these 6 colours, you can make every colour on the planet. When you have a bluer, not quite a purple blue like French ultramarine, but cobalt blue is halfway between cerulean. So it's slightly purpley blue, but it's not a purple blue. You struggle with your pinks because there isn't enough pink in Elysian crimson to brighten up a cool blue. So that's what you need. You get some beautiful dull purples, gorgeous deep plums, but you can't get the vibrant purple that we like when you do it like that. So I could use those, or I could use this gouache. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I could use. I do have a lid for this one as well. No. The only thing I could do is squeeze them in here. I might go wash this out, guys, and make myself a quick drink. Wash this out. I can squeeze these colours into here, and then we can make the colours we need to make from these 6 colours. I think mine will be whole pans, but I think they're going to be a bit different shapes. They're going to be like the old Victorian size, I think. Oh, I got 3 of those. So I didn't do too badly, but again, it's always difficult if you don't have the coolest blue and the purple is purple, the pinkiest red, and the lemonest yellow. These are the 3 main ones you have to have. You can make these colours from these 3. You can make an ultramarine, you can make a cadmium red, and you can make a yellow ochre, but you can't make these 3. Sometimes these are called primaries, but you've got a pinky red, you've got a cool cerulean blue, and you've got the lemonest yellow you can find. And then you can make the wrong end of all the spectrums. You can then make all the yellows in between before you get to oranges. And you can make all the reds from orange to the pink. And then you can make the purples to the blue, and then the blues to a green, and the greens to the yellow with these 3. It is slightly easier if you have that French ultramarine, because purples are a bit of a pain with these colours. So really, these are next to each other on the colour wheel with purple in the middle. So really, these would make the best purples. So that's why instead of 3 colours, I've said 6 colours. And that will give you quite a good. In fact, I think I've got a colour wheel somewhere. I might do a video with this colour wheel that I've got. If you added a touch of the vermilion, but what I would do is from vermilion, I would make an orange, because vermilion is a reddy orange. It's a dark orange, is that? But I would make a bright orange and then add a touch to these 4 greens, and you will have 4 different the word's gone. It's not an ochre. Oh, sorry guys, it's gone. No, it's gone, sorry. It's a green with orange in it. Olive green. So you'd have 4 olive greens just by adding a touch of orange to them. Then if you add a touch of red to each of these greens, you will get a darker tone. The same with the reds. If you add each green to each of these different reds, you would get a darker tone. So you've already trebled, quadrupled your reds and your greens just by using these. The same with the purple. A tiny touch of the purpley blue. If it's blue, it will go green. But if it's a purple, it will turn a yellow into a shadow, almost a yellow ochre. And the same with the blues. A touch of orange to the blues will make them darker. Sorry, not yes. And the yellows with the purples. And again, we've got a dark cool brown and we've got a red brown. Our mauve is a disgrace. Again, it is impossible if you do not have French ultramarine. Now, the way some people get around that is they don't have French ultramarine. They have the coolest blue for the greens, and they put dioxidine purple in. And Winsor & Newton did that with their watercolour pens. Their professional watercolour pens, they don't have French ultramarine. They have dioxidine purple. And if you mix dioxidine purple with cerulean blue, you will make French ultramarine. So they do it that way. Oh, hi Tina, welcome to Buddy's Designs. Anybody else popping in? Oh, bye Kenny, have a good day. So I think I need to put that somewhere to dry. Again, they look very sticky. And again, the Winsor & Newton ones don't normally look like that, so that's why I think they probably put some kind of sugar or honey into them. Now, I think I'm going to put honey into mine. I'm not sure. Excuse me. I'm going to do 2 different types. I'm going to try them without, and then I'm going to put them in this little box. So there'll be 6 colours in this little box. Because I think it's quite nice to use a little plastic palette or a little palette, or I've just found some white china plates, and you squeeze these 6 colours out, and then you can make your oranges and your purples and your greens, and your pages are connected. One of them was the horse painting that I did. That was made from just 3 colours, 3 watercolor colours. So you can make some beautiful colours, but the struggle was the purple. The purples were these really dull, horrible, mucky, dirty purples, which are gorgeous if you want a shadow. Instead of using black, use a mucky purple. Absolutely gorgeous, but no good for brights. And that's because I didn't have, I couldn't make a French ultramarine. I struggled to make it. So that's why I decided instead of 3 colours, we'd buy 6. And that would keep us going. So I think I'm going to play with the gouache. I haven't played with gouache for ages. It's very flat and you don't get a watercolour effect, but I think I'll leave these to dry. I'll put them in there, they'll probably dry. on there. So again, sometimes you can use these, and the vintage colours as well are quite nice. Now this is a vintage set. I think I've just shown this one. And again, this one has an ultramarine and an Elysian crimson and a lemon yellow. But it doesn't have a cold blue. It has a Prussian blue. So again, you can't take the red out of there to make that cool blue. This little set here, I love this little set. It doesn't have a cerulean blue. And these are quarter pans as well. I love these little quarter pans. It has the French ultramarine in a Prussian blue and a cadmium yellow. It does have two scarlets. It has a crimson Elysian and a scarlet Elysian. A yellow, but the yellow and the green, there's something with the pigments. They kind of do something weird. Oops, lost that bit of paper. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this. I know some are worth quite a lot of money, but I wanted this gorgeous little tiny set so I could take it with me. But I would probably, of course, we've got Viridian in there, which I don't like. The yellow ochre seems to have gone a bit, because obviously yellow ochre is a pale colour. The others seem perfectly all right. And that's why sometimes vintage ones are okay. But I did love this little set. And of course it sits. It does have the ring on it as well. It has the ring. So, I mean, it's almost like a ring. It's probably big enough as you could wear it as a ring. I do want that little piece of paper. Just to keep it nice. So that's a kind of real didgy little set in there. And I did hopefully bring that piece up here back. So I seem to have got, sorry guys about the clunking. That one will go on that one. And I can put these back. And I always think you can tell a good set of paints by the colours. So again, we've got lemon yellow, Elysian crimson, cadmium yellow, lemon yellow, cadmium, Elysian crimson, scarlet lake, ultramarine blue. I just have to take that out because that's Elysian crimson. This one is dioxazine violet, sorry. Elysian crimson would be next. And then we would like dioxazine purple, purple lake. Oh, that's what they've done. What they've done is they must have popped out because that one is definitely French ultramarine and that one is definitely purple lake. But they've obviously fallen out and they've put them in the wrong one. Cerulean blue, Viridian green, I think that one is. Oh, this is Viridian. This is Viridian. That might be Hooker's. Sap green. We've got a sap green, and then this one is Viridian. This is a very traditional set. Then we have, could be a red. This one, is it burnt sienna? Burnt sienna. This looks like a Prussian blue, actually. Let's have a look. Oh, lamp black. So we've got burnt sienna. That might be yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. And that's burnt umber. Raw umber. Put the lamp black at the bottom there. So I've got a couple missing here. probably a burnt sienna and a white. I think that would make the perfect thing. And when you look on here, there's the white, raw umber and burnt umber, burnt sienna, but there's a white and there's a Prussian blue. So I think the Prussian blue's fallen out as well. So somebody's made a bit of a colour scheme in that one, but I can live without those colours. As long as I've got my main 6, it doesn't bother me too much. So I'm just going to put that in there because my table keeps moving a bit. So I haven't used these, so they need using a bit. I think they do. So if I go wash this and get a piece of paper, we can do a colour wheel, and then we can see where things go, and which are the best yellows for the best greens. Because French ultramarine is the furthest away from lemon yellow, but they make a good green. And the reds, when they're furthest away from the blues, they make a dull purple. So you get the dull colours without adding complementary colours, and they work quite well. If you were going for a better set, a perfect set, then you would have a hooker's green and a sap green, a dioxazine purple, a cadmium orange, a burnt sienna, a raw sienna, a burnt umber, and a raw umber. And if you wanted to use white, but I wouldn't buy black because I make blacks. If you add slightly more blue to the other 2 colours, you get a cool black. If you add slightly more red to the other 2, you get a purple black. And if you have a slightly more yellow, you kind of get a greeny black. And so there's some really nice, so if you were doing a swamp or a dark river, that would be the black. If you were doing a tree, you'd want a warm reddish black for the bark. And if you were doing a cool rock or a pebble or a rock scene, a cool bluey black would be good. So that's how I do mine. I think that one goes on that one. So if you've got any questions before I just go make a drink, because they've all gone out. My daughter's got driving lessons. So as I said in the video, the first video, I will be swapping out, because I've got cobalt blue, but I don't have cerulean blue. So these are my pigments, and I will be swapping out. There is cadmium red. There's a Windsor blue. There's a French ultramarine. But remember, when we were making a purple, even though we had the coolest blue, it didn't always work. That's the lemon yellow. And then we don't have a cadmium yellow. I don't think I have a cadmium yellow. Sorry guys, I can't find the yellow. Oh, there we go. It's almost like a cadmium yellow. So I was missing one. Alizarin crimson. Here we go, Alizarin crimson. So I've got my 6 pigments for making my colours. I've got to be a bit careful because I haven't got a mask on and I've got asthma. So that's what they look like when you open them. But I will be buying cerulean, but just to practice. And I do have some umbers in here as well, but this is a vintage set, so I will be using them. So I've got that there. So I'll just go wash this pot out and then we can have a play with some more colours. The other thing to do is while you're mixing the colours is to actually colour something in. So that may be an idea. Is getting the 6 colours out. And I'll get a palette and colour something in. So I do like the this gorgeous huge poster size book sent to me by Melody. The fox might be quite nice to do. He's quite, and these are basically the double-sided. These pages are Kirby Roseanne's double page spreads that had the horrible bind in the middle, not the bind, spine. So what they've done is brought out with them without all the double page spreads. Don't have. This is the horse that I did from 3 colours. I didn't really want to do it in gouache, but the little bear looks good. And they're all perforated, so they will come out. Yes, darling, it's gorgeous. And Melody also sent me Animorphia as well. So we've got all these gorgeous, huge, I think they're A3, these. And some of them I haven't done in the original one either. So I did a flick of this poster size book. The paper's the same, so you don't have to worry about that. It's a tiger. I kind of like the panda, but I probably will leave the panda black and white and then bring in some colours. So we've got lots of, I kind of do all the plants first. I'm a bit of a wimp, and the flowers. Then I pick out the animals. So I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to this. So I'm very precious with these. I do like the fox though. The fox is quite nice. I'm not doing Mr. Fox. I don't like bending it backwards, but I can't. Yes, I have most of it. I haven't bought the last one. I think I've got second to last. I haven't got the last one. Well, these are all flowers as well, so these are quite nice. And we can make viridian. We can make a turquoise blue and a turquoise green. That might be quite tempting to do that one. We'll see what the colours turn out like. So I just have to go make myself a quick drink, guys. I shall be back. I don't know how long we're doing. I need to look at the time. Oh, I think I've got an hour. I think I've got an hour, guys. So I've got about an hour, so we could colour for about an hour. So I don't want to rush these. I might be tempted to do in that one this morning. See if I can find the other one. Again, wonderful Melody sent these gorgeous scrummy books by Markova. I think there's a double spread in this one. Again, I'm really playing about with colour, and I changed how I do things. Sometimes it's quite nice. So I had a bit of a play with really dark, rich colours. I think there's a couple of double page spreads somewhere. Sure, I've seen a double page spread unless it's my imagination. There it is. That's another one that's a double page spread. Oh, Dad says I need a sketchbook. I think I do have that journal sketchbook. It's quite tiny. Some nice flowers. Again, if we use the dry pigment with a rigger, we could get the watercolor effect. They look quite nice. Sometimes you look at shapes. If they're too big, you can't get that lovely effect, but if they're not, you can. I like little bluebells. Again, that's another nice one. The jellyfish. Little houses. That's quite a nice one. Again, you look at the tiny space and the big spaces, so you need 2 paintbrushes for different size. I'll see if I can get hold of that one if I stand up. Right, I should be back in a couple of minutes, guys. I just have to go put the kettle on. Right, guys, decided against a hot drink. So what we need when we're colour mixing is, and I didn't get any pieces of paper, but no, I didn't get any paper, is a big pot of water divided, or 2 pots, one to wash the brush out. And I'll show you what I've been doing. When I was colour mixing before, if you see, this is how I wash the brush out, and this is the other one. So that's why you have 2. So even if you go from a dark black to a yellow, you've got clean water, so you clean it out there and then clean water. Now, I actually went in the wrong one at one point, but most of the time I stuck to the 2. So decide that's for washing the brush out, that's for clean water. Then you'll always have clean water, and your yellows, you'll never get this effect if you do that. You'll never get this effect when you go back to your colour, because it'll always be clean. And then the other thing you need is kitchen roll. You need kitchen roll. So I can get rid of that yucky one, I think. Right. Now I do have this board as well. So I think you can do 2 colours. I think I'll do it the simple way, and then, so we've got a board here. Put the water pot there. So I'll build a colour wheel of probably the simple colours. So a colour wheel is a cadmium yellow, lemon yellow, French ultramarine, cerulean blue, so it's all gouache, it's just that one's an older make than the other. So these 2 make the best green, these 2 make the best orange, and these 2 make the best purple. So these are primaries. So if I put oh, you see how all these are? This is your Elysian crimson. Actually, I think if I put them in here, I can then make the colours as I go out. Yeah, I'll do that. So she. I need to transfer back into there. No, I don't. I'll leave it like that. They'll dry in there. So this is Elysian crimson. This is cadmium red. Lemon yellow. Sorry, cadmium yellow, beg your pardon. Lemon yellow. And then we've got French ultramarine, which is a purple blue. Do not tell my dentist I do that. And cerulean blue. So I'm going to put a little bit of that there. Oops. And a little bit of that there. A little bit of that there. So we've got our 6 colours. Oh, the light's not too bad on there. Move that across. So we've got Elysian Crimson, which is a pink red, cadmium red, which is a red orange, and then we've got a cadmium orange, which is a warm orangey yellow, and we've got lemon yellow, which is a cooler yellow. Then we've got cerulean blue, which is a cool blue, French ultramarine or ultramarine, which is a purple blue. So if we do each, that's the primary. So now we can make secondary colours. And I've got that little thing that I was using. Something or other. I have a beautiful little mixing thing and I can't find it. I'll use the back of here. We'll do the palest colour first. So we'll do this. And we've made an orange. I do hate wasting colour, but can't do anything about it. We mix these two together. We get the brightest green, sap green. And then these two together to get our purple. Now purples are a rule to themselves. They're quite terrible, our purples, but so then what we can have in between is we can take cerulean blue and French ultramarine and mix them together. And we get Prussian blue. So that's where Prussian blue comes into it. So when you look at the other colour wheel, that's why we don't get the brightest purple, because there is another purpley blue there. That one's a Windsor blue. That's a Windsor blue, sorry, or a Prussian blue. Beg your pardon, cobalt blue. So here we've got our darker ones. Our blue greens. And here we've got Chinese green. Here we've got gamboge. Sorry, beg your pardon, we haven't got gamboge. We've got, what kind would that be? Primary yellow, not primary yellow. I don't know what's in between that one. Can't think of that one. This is cadmium yellow. It looks stronger than cadmium yellow, actually. It is. That would be cadmium yellow in the middle. This one is a permanent yellow, so it's too dark. This is probably like a gamboge. But here we've got like a tangerine colour. So in between your cadmium yellow is your tangerine colour. Then we've got orange. And then we've got vermilion. And then in between these two, we've got a Scarlet Lake. So it's not really a pinky red. Magenta would be here somewhere. So this one is half and half. So almost like a crimson lake. Still a bit pinky, but it's got a little bit of the warmer red as well. So that's an orangey red. That's in the middle. This is a pinky red. And then on this side, this might not work very well because purples are terrible to make. We've got a red purple. And then on this side, I've got a blue purple. And our 6, we've got quite a good colour wheel. So what it mixes slightly different. As I say, because it's a set, this is a permanent yellow deep. So that would be kind of there. And cadmium yellow is probably that one. And then this is probably like a gamboge. Then we've got tangerine. Then we have an orange. Then we have an orangey red, which is vermilion. And then a bit pinkier than that, slightly pinkier than vermilion is very orangey, but an orange red is a cadmium. And then this is where the crimson lakes come in. I can't think of any of the permanent reds. They're in between, so they're not quite a red and not quite a pink. But then we get to the pinky reds, which are Elysian crimson, quinacridone magenta. So they make the best purples. French ultramarine does as well. But purple is, I've always struggled making my own purples. And then we've got our cerulean blue for our greens, turquoisey greens, Chinese greens, and the cool yellow. And then you're back to start again. So that, to me, is quite a good selection because we can make some nice browns with our oranges and our reds. We can make some mauves and some purples and plum colours, aubergine with our reds. We can get turquoises and greens and teal colours and peacock butterfly colours. And then we can make our turquoises here, our lime greens here, our gamboges and berry ochres with these yellows. So having a purple in there is always quite good because as I say, purple isn't the best colour to make. But you can see that if you bought the 6, you can quite easily make the 3 primaries and then each tertiary in between. So we've got I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9 tertiaries. So we've got 3 secondaries, 6 primaries. And from those, now if we took this blue here, and we took this red here and mixed them, we've got a brown. And that's because that doesn't have any pink in it, and that doesn't have any pink in it either. There's no red in cerulean blue. There is red in this colour because it's a reddy, it's nearer the red colour, near the purple. This one, it's got a tiny bit in it, but not a lot. So that's where we get our really dull colours. So they're the furthest away. So then we've got this Elysian crimson and cerulean blue. And we've got a lovely mauve colour. It's not a bright purple. It's a dull purple, but it's nice. The same as if we take French ultramarine and cadmium red. There's no purple in that whatsoever. It's almost like a warm brown. So it's definitely this alizarin crimson that we need for our purples. So if I water this one down, you can see it's a mauve purple. Hopefully that's going to come across as a purple mauve. Whereas this one, that's a beautiful blue. And this one is a plum colour. It's a pink purple, is that one, more than that one actually. There's quite a bright purple there. So we've kind of got some nice purples going on, but if we use the wrong red, we can never get past an orange or a brown. We can only get, so we must have a magenta if we want to get to that pink purple stage. So if we take this one and gamboge, we've got an olive because it's got quite a lot of red in it. So this is a bright green because it's furthest away from red. This one is near orange, so we get olive. So any greens you have, if you put orange to it, you are going to get an olive colour. So we can take this green, we can actually put orange in it rather than, and take a bit of that. And we've got a beautiful olive colour. If we take this light, like a Chinese green, and add a touch, we've almost got a sienna there. It's more like a raw sienna. So we've got, this is our viridian, which is the orangiest red you can get without going to orange. And we've got orange. But again, if we take this blue and this red, we've got a warm brown. Whereas if we take this red and this is cooler. So you can, and if you took it further, you'd probably end up with a teal colour because of the orange. Yeah, look, you can see we've got this colour which is almost a turquoise. Didn't add the pink red to it, I added the orange to it, so I've got a turquoise colour. And if I water this down or add white, it should be a nice mint colour. But you don't want the cool yellow because the cool yellow makes it more green. So we can get lots of different greens by adding blues, but then adding other colours to them. And there's something quite nice because these colours are connected because they're very similar. They're made with the same colours. And there's something quite nice about that. So when you do paintings, they are together. Now, I think if you were making them for something else, it's different. But I think when you mix them for a painting, so we've got this colour, and we put a touch of this to it to make it darker. So we've got almost a peacock blue, but we take that one here, and it has just a hint of that colour. That's like a teal. So you could end up with thousands of teal variations. And a touch of the cooler blue. That's almost like a butterfly blue. And then take it purplier. So there's lots of different things to do with these two blues, because remember there's hundreds of blues, but that's on the furthest pinkiest purple spectrum, and that's on the coolest spectrum. Again, you can do that with the greens, go from the lightest to the darkest. Did that purple turn out like that? Purple was not too bad. That's quite a good purple, that one. That's the blue purple, then that was the red purple. So we've got half a dozen purples, same with the oranges, the orange reds. The yellows are the same. There's another different colour into here. So again, that was ochre. So if we take that and we put a little bit of just put a touch of purple, tiniest touch of purple to it. That was too red, actually. A blue purple. So I think that's yellow ochre. But it doesn't want red in it, it's purple in it. That's raw sienna almost. If we keep going, we probably get a russet colour. That's a brick red. That's a fox red colour, or Indian red. A bit more blue to it. Oh, it's a bit probably too blue. That's a raw sienna. So we can go right through all the browns. But we have to stay on the blue side rather than on the pinky side, because they will turn aubergine and purple, but we want them to be this colour. We've got a bit of orange there, and we could put a little bit of French ultramarine. We've got a beautiful dark colour. If we have bright yellow and French ultramarine, we get a very deep Viridian dark hooker's green. And that's more of a hooker's green. But then if we put a little bit of this colour into it, we've got a dark olive, because it's got a bit of that red in it. Counterpart that with some cerulean blue. End up with a turquoisey blue. So you can add blue to all these colours to make them either richer. I think if you water that one down, it will end up mint colour. So I hope that made sense. And then we can start to colour in. So we've got these colours. I'm not sure if they'll reconstitute, actually. Oh, they will. Yep, they'll reconstitute quite nicely. Again, these are designer gouaches that are a bit more expensive, but if you look at them, they're all opaque. They're not see-through. They're not transparent. So if you want to play with gouache, buy a white gouache and add it to watercolors. And if you like the effect, then buy a set. But basically, if you add white gouache to any watercolor, it will make it opaque. So you only need to buy one large tube instead of buying a whole set and then finding out you don't like them. We used to use them a lot in graphics because it gives a dead flat colour, quite a dead flat colour. So we've got some nice terse going on here, and that's what you need for a nice colour page. It's going to be a bit difficult doing the big one actually on that section, so I just have to do maybe a little one. So when we start to look, get rid of those tubes. There. So when we start to look at a colour page, we can think about tertiary colours. So we don't want something to be bright yellow or bright orange. It can be different colours. And again, look, one colour's been for using for washing, the other one is clean. Oh dear me, trust me to do that. So that's given me, I can look at this and I can think, well, I can use 3 tertiary colours if I want, or I can use complementary colours. It's just given me that little bit extra to play with when I'm thinking about colour. I can think, do I want to use it light to dark? Do I want to mix them? And if I don't use any of these colours, I only use tertiary colours. It's going to give kind of a muted colour scheme, not necessarily pastel unless I water them down, but it's going to give a muted. So I use a different brush. So this is a pink, but I'm going to use it quite watered down. And I could use it on the bow. So I could do something like this. And that is such an unusual pink. I'm going to use a thinner brush. Make sure the brush is clean because I was using it earlier. A thinner brush and manipulate, pick off this colour. Oh, I forgot it's gouache, isn't it? Yeah, it's gouache. So you're just going to have to waste a bit. We don't want to be too. Again, your difficulty is using such a large brush. I don't know if I've got any more pinks. They're all kind of like bluebells. Another good thing is artists use the same colour somewhere else. That's another thing some guys do to make sure that there is a colour scheme. I can change that really slightly. So I'm here, so I'm going to touch this one. So it's half and half, so it's not quite the same, but it's almost the same. And again, I'm going to have to waste quite a lot. And I'm going to do his suit. So it's not exactly the same. It's made from that pink. And that means that it's connected. Now, there is quite a lot on this brush. It's probably not the best. But it's connected. So we can pick out something else. There's some berries on this side here, so we want to go a bit reddier now. Let's see if I can get that. I do need that kitchen roller just to stop me running into trouble, really. So we need to make it blue. I'm going to have to get rid of that. That's on there. So I can go to the blue side. Now I've got this lovely blue here. I'm going to have to use the middle a bit. And remember, this is gouache, so it's not watercolor. So we're not going to get a watercolor effect because this is opaque, which means these watercolors are not see-through. It's going to be the design for graphic designers to do thick, flat color. But if you want to have a play, then as I say, just add. Now I'm going to come back with a highlight for those. So I can do all these the same. Again, remember what I said about this big brush. It's a watercolor brush. You touch it, you get this big whoosh of color, completely opposite to working with a watercolor effect with a rigger. So this is really what you would do if you were working on a painting. You probably wouldn't. I sometimes do all six because I use all the colors to tone mine down again, rather than using black or white. So even though I probably be working in greens, I'd add red to it because it's a complementary color. So I would have my blues out and my yellows out to make the greens, but then I would have both reds out. So I probably would put out my 6 colors. And not necessarily make the tertiaries, but it gives you a choice. And of course, now these are here, this palette will last me for probably a whole book because they're quite fat and thick. There's quite a lot of colour on here. So I could work probably through a book quite easily. And because I've watered it down, we can now see a beautiful lilac colour coming through. So we've gone from a rich, darker blue to a turquoisey colour, and all I've done is watered it down. So I can go under here now with this dark colour and have a shadow under here. Only by just going back to the original colour. But the connected, I've not mixed a different colour. All I've done is add water to it. So again, if this was an acrylic or an oil painting, I would add white. You can add a darker brown, but what I do is instead of adding black, If I have a red, a purpley red, and I want to darken it, I'll add burnt carmine. If I want a green and I want to darken it, I'll mix a little bit of indigo, very dark blue. And if I have a brown that I want a very dark shadow, then I have a nut brown or a Van Dyke brown, very dark brown. I'll add a touch of that. And again, it depends on what I'm working on, but that's how I normally work. So I have my 3 colours that I use mainly for shadow, or you can add its complementary colour. And again, if you mix and match this colour, it's connected. It might not be exact, but it's connected. So you get a sense that the light's doing something to it, but it's the same colour. Whereas if you went in with white, you would ruin that connection. If you went in with black, you would ruin that connection because you're just adding another colour to it, a dead black and white, what I call dead colours. And so you're deadening whatever you had. I hope that made sense, guys. Now, as I say, this is rather a slapdash way of doing it, but I've not worked in gouache, I don't think, in a colour book for quite a while, so I'm out of practice. So I've got one left there, so I can add a touch of water to what I've already got. And then do this last one down here. And then for these smaller ones, I can go back to this set here where it was made. And bring back that colour. Now, these are very boring and they're all the same colour. But again, this is the quick touch and go. I've made the colours. This is just touch and go. And I can go back into it another day and put some detail on it and put some shadows in it. But this is just a very quick and easy creative process. And it now means that I've made these palette colours. They're in this palette, whether it's a shut one or whether it's open, put it somewhere safe. I usually put mine in a bookcase because it's never very rarely touched there. So if you do that with it, it'll dry. But again, you can only do that with watercolors and gouache because they're reconstitutable, if that's the correct word. Again, pick some more color up. And then again, really what you should do is turn that way so it's comfortable. Because if it's not comfortable, you'll go over the line. So I can go back to this area here. And I know that's gone slightly colour now. It's a darker colour. So that would have made a really nice shadow. If I wanted a big contrast between light and dark. And you can judge the size of what you've got with how much water you've got left and how much paint you've got left. So I can now wet my brush again and go back into here and kind of I've got a shadow, so I can work onto that bit there. There was another little bit where it was darker. I think these are quite dark. These are they've not opened, so I'm guessing they must be the same flower. And it's quite a dull lilac purple. This it's not really kind of. So what we can do is just introduce a shadow if we wanted. So you can start bringing a bit of something else if you want to. So I've got some really nice greens here, but they're almost an olive green. So I'm going to pick this one. And again, I can work in the middle to reconstitute that. And then we've got, again, about 10 tones and shades because of how it works. Now, it's very flat because this is what gouache is. It's a flat colour. It's not. There's no watercolour effect. It's dead flat colour. Now, this is a bit of a loaded brush, is this one, but what I'm using is I'm making this olive green has some of the same colours in that the purple has. So there's a connection. I didn't get a green from a pan or a tube of paint, and I didn't get the purple out as well. And again, sometimes I do like the fact that you can make a colour that nobody else has got. It's a unique colour just to you because you made it. And again, there's something quite nice about that, and it gives the picture a difference. Now, when I come over to this, it should be paler, but it won't be. That's fine. I've missed a bluebell there. So again, I've got this here. And you can alter these colours. Oops, made a boo-boo there, but never mind. You can alter these colours by adding something just very subtly to them, and they would be different. But again, the page would be connected. That's Bungle crying. And Jessie as well. We've started this time. She's getting very vocal, is Jessie. that's interesting. So thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope everybody's okay. The Elf Master is asleep by my feet. Now, because I want this one at the background, I want it a bit stronger. So I've gone back in for some more colour. So again, you can do that. You can water it down and go back. I think I prefer watercolours, but the gouache is fine. It's fine. It's doing its job. That's what it's there for. So can't very well criticise it, can we? Alfie, what are you chewing? I kind of like this green. It's doing quite well. So hopefully the internet's behaving itself. Which will be quite good. So I say gouache is quite a thick. So I think all the other leaves are slightly different. Oh no, missed one here. Look, there's one. Right. In theory, then there's a bit behind there. So now we've got some stems. So what I'm going to do with this green here is, this is the green that I've just done the leaves with, which was here. I'm going to kind of pinch a little bit of this blue. So again, it's exactly the same green, 50%. It's just, now I've had to just touch the tissue just to take a tinge off it. So it's not quite as olivey as it was. It's a different colour, but it's connected because 50% of it is actually that leaf. I'm sure there's a lot more bit of stem that I've missed. This stem here. So I need to just have a tiny bit darker, I think. So I did the leaves a different colour, but never mind, it's fine. So this one now, I can do this colour now. So again, I don't know what this is going to look like, because again, there's no watercolour effect at all. It's all very flat. Probably very Disney-ish, very flat. I just need to go back into the bluebell colour. As I've missed two bluebells somewhere. There. So this brush has done well for fine places, and it's going to do quite well holding colour to space. But I'm going to do it in sections so we don't have streaks. Has anybody got any questions? Oh, hi Pamela. Anybody else popping in that I've missed? Welcome to Bunny's Designs. I'm playing with some gouache colours that I've started with six main primaries, and then I've made some tertiaries and some secondaries to kind of move about. So I've got this gorgeous colour here, which is like that's the green, but it's almost like a yellow ochre. It's a bit too, it's just a little bit too near that colour. It's just a tiny bit too near the olive green colour. That's better, but that's it's a bit strong. That I would have liked to have had it a bit weaker. Again, if you can keep it in those segregated lines, when we do have a difference, it's not going to make any difference really. Again, always change the position of your hand so you're in control and you don't go over the page. Again, this is kind of a full-on colour, this, so not quite sure what it's going to do. And if you're unsure, always photocopy a page first, or pick a page you don't like, or do a back page. Mixture-wise, this is quite strong. So again, you find your colours, and then you've got your hues and your colours. So then we can water that down and add still kind of, and if you have to touch it on a tissue really, because it's too wet. Because you've mixed it with the big brush, that's why. So if you're mixing with one brush, which I should, because this is a sable brush, so I shouldn't really be mixing with this one, but it's just a bit easier. And then if we want some real shadow, we can go back and try and make this rounded if we want to a bit later. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow into that, which almost has made it a yellow ochre now. And then we can just end up down here a little bit, I think. And again, we don't have that watercolor effect, but we can go back in there in a minute. So I did manage quite a nice mauve. Oh, definitely an aubergine colour. You can work a lot slower and can change the direction of your page, so you're in full control of your brush. I think I like that. This, is it this purpley plum colour here? No, I think we've used that. This is like a sienna colour, so I think we'll do this house a sienna colour. Really rich mahogany, almost reddy brown. So it's a dead full colour on the paintbrush. It's not going to be watered down because it's the whole brush is full of the same colour. So there's no watercolour effect, but I was looking for the plum colour for that, and I missed it. Now I do like this colour, but I think if I watered it down, it'd look lovely on her wings. But I was looking at this plummy colour here for these, and what you have to do, unfortunately, is just tap some colour off because if it's too wet, it'll just keep running. And this is a small space. So this is a sable brush, so it will go to a beautiful little point if you want it to. You've got to be a little bit careful. So we know the right way around. We can use that colour there. I think we could water it down. And again, it's a dull tertiary colour now for the butterflies. I think we could do her hat, this pale colour as well. Pixie's hat. And now I need a bit of a red colour. Just have a look at this colour here for a second. And then we've got a little bit of bark. So I may have run out of time, guys, before I finish this painting. I think that means that there'll be somebody here soon. I need red, so look for the reds. So the tertiary colours we had out here, we need to make a dull red. It can't be a bright red because we haven't got bright colours here. these colours would be nice on that lovely book that Suzanne sent me with the mushrooms, and I've been worried about bright colours in it, but actually I think these colours and the gouache would work quite well. So sometimes it takes you a while before you get the right thing to use in the right book. And I've been really struggling looking at the colours, but of course never used these tertiary colours, these really obscure colours that I've made once and probably will never make again. So this is almost like a Venetian red, but it's a pinky Venetian red, and it's watered down, so it's a pale colour. So she needs some wings. So we've got quite a bit of purple in there and a little bit of pink. I have a rose colour up here, so I do need to clean the brush this time. And I think I might use the rose colour for her wings. So guys, I'll have to call it a day because but that's what we've been using, our colour mix palette. So thanks for stopping by. Have a wonderful day. And because it's going to get very noisy now. So have a grand day, and I'll finish it off and put a picture on when I've finished it. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you.